Breaking news, stimulating talk is what we do. KVNU 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
KVNU News Time is 5:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by The Duck Hunter. Well-known children's fantasy author Brandon Mole has just published his 5th book in the Dragon Watch series, Return of the Dragon Slayers. He, along with Northern Utah author Tyler Whitesides, will be featured at an author event and book signing this evening from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Logan Library. Mole was also to appear in some local classrooms this morning. In his classroom appearances, he talks to kids about the importance of reading and cultivating their own creativity. On KBNU's For the People program on Tuesday, he explained why he does that.
Well, for me, using my imagination to share books changed my life.
Sure.
And also throughout my life, reading has been a form of escape and therapy for me. And so I try to share those realities with kids, that if they just read good books and create cool stuff, whatever their favorite creative outlet is, which can be really broad, they will watch their imaginations get stronger, and they will. And through that stronger imagination, it creates opportunities in life.
Mole says he encourages reading because it does something that other media platforms do not do nearly as well.
I'm not anti-Instagram. I'm not anti-television or good movies. I like all that stuff. But I think if we miss out on reading, we're missing something that's so key on the entertainment menu. Because as we read, it automatically engages our imagination. We become a co-creator with the author of the story, right? We visualize that story for ourselves instead of have someone show it to us.
Mole is a #1 New York Times bestselling author and lives in Utah with his family. Tyler Whitesides lives in northern Utah. While attending Utah State University, he got a part-time job as a night custodian, where he got the idea for his 5-book series, Janitors. He has now published 10 books. KBNU News Time is 5:07. KBNU weather for tonight, partly cloudy this evening, then mostly cloudy, slight chance of snow after midnight, low in the lower 30s, and then rain and snow likely tomorrow morning, rain likely in the afternoon, high temperature in the mid-40s, and then just mostly cloudy by Thursday night. It's been to 47. It's 43 right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by U&I Furniture. Many guests might be coming for the holidays soon, so be ready with a queen-size therapeutic mattress for only $399. All kinds of chairs at U&I Furniture. You'll be in chair heaven with accent chairs, lift chairs, and, of course, recliners. Always a better buy at U&I. 28 West, 1st North, downtown Logan.
Did you know a block dryer vent is a real fire hazard? According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, there are tens of thousands of dryer exhaust duct fires annually, leading to many injuries and death. You should have your dryer hose and the area around it cleaned once a year, and inspect the vent and hose for any blockages at least every 6 months. Don't wait for disaster to strike because your dryer vent is blocked. Give John Henson a call at the Duct Hunter. Call 770-4813 today.
Breathe better, save money, protect your home. We are the Duck Hunter.
It's 5:08 at KBNU. The family of a 10-year-old girl who died by suicide has alleged a Utah school district did not do enough to protect their daughter, who they say was bullied for being black and autistic. The district was recently reprimanded by the U.S. Department of Justice for failing to address widespread racial discrimination. Salt Lake City police confirmed this week they are investigating the weekend death of Izzy Ticknor as a suicide. Izzy's family says that they reported the bullying, but nothing was done to stop the harassment. A Davis School District spokesperson said the school administration responded appropriately to the reports of bullying. And firefighters and police officers were called out to a Utah County apartment complex after a gas-related explosion that destroyed 2 and impacted at least a dozen others. Crews responded to the Villa Apartments in Springville Tuesday around noon. KUTV reports first responders were still on the scene as of 6 last night. Photos from the scene showed the home engulfed in massive flames. There was a large presence of firefighters and law enforcement at the scene. Police said they believed work on a gas line inside a unit caused the explosion that sparked the fire. Fortunately, no one was injured in the explosion or fire, and teams were working to determine the exact cause. KBNU News Time is 5:10. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
Adams Wealth Advisors is the gold winner for financial planning in the Best of Northern Utah competition. Thank you for your vote. Putting clients first under any circumstance will bring peace of mind when working with Adams Wealth Advisors.
This is Craig Adams. At Adams Wealth Advisors, we are here to help you receive peace of mind whether you've done a lot of planning or a little planning. Count on our team at Adams Wealth Advisors for honesty, professionalism, and integrity.
Visit AdamsWealthAdvisors.com or call 752-1702 to schedule a time with an advisor today. Please see AdamsWealthAdvisors.com for more information on these recent awards.
The Logan Holiday Gift Show at the Riverwoods Conference Center is Friday and Saturday, November 12th and 13th. The perfect place to kick off your holiday shopping. Your entire family will love the hundreds of ideas and wonderful treats. Clothing, books, jewelry, purses, home and holiday decor, baby items, and so much more. Don't miss Logan's premier holiday gift show, the Logan Holiday Gift Show. Friday and Saturday, November 12th and 13th at the Riverwoods Conference Center. Start your holiday shopping off right. Don't miss it.
Thursday edition, Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show will continue to break down the absolute latest on the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Plus, Buck, it's a special day.
We've got Veterans Day, my friends, and we have Frank Siller of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation and the recipient of one of those smart homes we've been telling you about joining us to talk about what an important mission they have. That's today on the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Hour 2 of today's show, Wednesday, November 10th. I'm Jason Williams, Bill Walter here in the studio as well. We'd planned and even arranged with lawmakers to recap what we thought would be a now over special session today on the show. And we've had to just put a pause on all of that. We'll still be speaking with Cache Valley lawmakers or lawmaker, whoever we can get schedule-wise to recap and talk about what in the end is passed or not passed on this very small agenda, but agenda that's proving to have a lot of debate around it, from the bail reform revival after its knee-jerk repeal during the legislative session. Lawmakers have brought that back, as they promised to do the day after they repealed it. Realizing they'd been duped, and with some bad data presented in a committee. And that's back, and there's a lot of debate around that. Redistricting is alive again. This was done as of noon today, and all over but the governor's signature, which he said last night in a town hall he would sign it. And it's back. I've been able to figure out why exactly, but the legislative redistricting maps back up for debate and a vote in the House, and then back over to the Senate for an additional vote and debate there, because in the rush to get this passed, and the map only being public since Friday, which is what made what the legislature decided to do here so distasteful. One public hearing in the middle of the day on Monday is all the committee offered, and there were some mistakes, and these were caught by, luckily, an attentive teacher caught this. In the map, they basically bifurcated the Davis County School District with a school board boundary line. That was not intended and unnoticed, and someone caught it. A teacher caught it, actually, realizing that this would put her living outside of the school district she teaches, or outside of the school board district that she oversees, that is supposed to be over the school she teaches in. And she mailed her representative and said, hey, this doesn't make sense. It looks like they're also discussing at least a similar issue, or a potential similar issue, in Utah County And luckily, it looks like no mistake like that has been made with the school district and school board boundaries in Cache County. So we'll keep you posted on that one. Bail reform, I'd said when we started the show that they weren't going to get back to this until after their dinner break, and they'd come back at 6, which is still the plan. They're going to take a break here in a little while, assumedly, and at 6 o'clock come back and finish with bail reform. But it did come up for a little bit there and then was circled. There's a reason they do this sometimes. There are always a handful of lawmakers who, as a Senate staffer once put it to me, self-select to be that guy. And they have a big speech prepared, and it's usually more politics than policy and pomp and circumstance and, inspiring words. And they are going to make that speech no matter what. And so they'll bring the bill up. Those self-selectors will stand in line and make their speeches. As soon as they've made their speeches, they will circle the bill and then bring it back later in the evening for an actual debate and vote. And those lawmakers, having given their speeches already, are discouraged from taking up more of everyone's time. That appears to be what happened with bail reform, and it will be back. As far as the Dixie State campus name change, it is, again, over in the House. The House actually passed the bill to change Dixie State to Utah Tech University. It passed in the House 56-15. All Cache Valley lawmakers voted for this except Representative Mike Peterson, which I don't understand that, but that's how the vote broke down here. Interestingly enough, Peterson joins the majority, at least, of southern Utah lawmakers voting against this, but they were overruled by the rest of the state, and at least 2 of our 3 lawmakers here in Cache Valley in the House. And that name change will head to the Senate for final debate, which is probably going to go pretty quickly. This bill originated in the Senate. It was the Senate's idea. The Senate had already said they have the votes to pass it. So that will probably go quickly and then head off to the governor for a signature within the next couple of days. So, again, passed 56-15 and heads to the Senate for a final vote. And if you want to see vote breakdown or any of the previous debate on that, it is available at le.utah.gov. But again, that is, at this point, for the most part, other than that final Senate hoop, which is expected to go quickly, a done deal. So that leaves bail reform. Any other mistakes they discover in the redistricting map, they rushed out to the public eye just Friday. And other than that, their work in this special session is, for the most part, done. So the Senate now taking up the Dixie State bill as we speak. Man, they're moving quickly here. There are some opposed. Senator Mike McKell said that, there are some speaking vehemently in support. A Republican lawmaker, Mike McKell, is speaking now on the floor saying that students have had to answer for... Mike McKell is basically saying, look, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's hypersensitive or not, the reality is that much of the nation has come to see the word Dixie as associated with, regardless of what it might mean here in Utah or to those who have lived in southern Utah a long time, the rest of the country, Dixie means something unsavory, at least, and reminds people of slavery and the antebellum South. McKell said, reading from his remarks as transcribed by Ben Winslow at Fox 13, who's live tweeting this now, McKell is saying that the students have been very adversely impacted by this, and that should be, McKell says, all anyone cares about. So he is signaling support for the bill. He said this is not cancel culture. This is empowering an institution to broaden its scope and not be held back any longer by its name. And that applies to the students. So some of the senior Democratic leadership also speaking in favor, saying that a lot of time has been spent on this. It should have been an easy thing to do. The university wants it. The student body wants it. And the majority of the community wants it. Job leaders want it. One representative of a decently sized tech company in Utah County said that they have actually themselves had trouble with hiring graduates that graduated from Dixie when it came to their partners. They had partners, this business owner said during a committee meeting yesterday, and this is being referenced by Senator Gene Davis right now on the Senate floor in Salt Lake, as we speak. He referenced this committee testimony. This business owner, tech company in Utah County, said they had partners refuse to accept transfers of the employees. They had an employee swapping program, and they refused to accept transfers of students who had on their resume Dixie State because their partners, being in other states, thought this could be a problem for them in the future, hiring someone with that on their resume. That's a pretty big deal, and if I were that student, I would be very angry. Bountiful Senator Todd Weiler, speaking right now, says he will be voting for the name change in the Senate. Senator Harper saying that many people feel that this is undermining some of the heritage of Utah, but he's saying this is important that we establish and recognize that the world is always changing around us, and being able to adapt is important. Here's my favorite part, though, where I've been heading with all of this. Bountiful Senator Todd Weiler, a Republican from that Davis County area, is quoting Dolly Parton on the Senate floor. And the quote,
wonder if Dolly would be proud to know that. I don't know.
Well, the quote is from Dolly Parton. If something is a problem, fix it. Don't be a dumb blank. That's an actual quote from Dolly Parton. And Senator Todd Weiler literally just read that exact quote without the blank into the Senate record.
Oh, so it wasn't blank.
It wasn't blank.
It was another word.
He
Yes.
actually quoted Dolly Parton. You can Google it if you want to see what she said. Of course, Dolly doesn't have much of a foul mouth, but it is something our listeners might not want to hear. So I won't repeat it. If you want to see it, you can Google it. It's a famous thing she said. But again, Senator Weiler quoting Dolly Parton and noting that he's quoting Dolly Parton into the Senate record just now, said if something is a problem, fix it. Don't be a dumb blank. Getting a little delirious, I would guess, after what has been a pretty rushed, really rushed. By the way, Dolly made that comment after dropping Dixie from the Dollywood Dixie Stampede, something she announced a couple of years ago, actually. So, senators, I think, have had enough, looking at some of the comments here. Senator Dan McKay speaking in support of this is going to pass the Senate. Dixie State name change will head to the governor for signature. I think just my count here, looking at tweets and watching the video from le.utah.gov, they've already passed the threshold of supporting senators. So Dixie State name change will head to the governor as they wrap up the special session. That leaves bail reform as the final item on the agenda. At this point, I'm going back to my prediction. I doubt that they'll have time to finish that before 6 o'clock. So I'm guessing they will break at this point, come back around 6 just as our show ends, and then spend the rest of the evening debating bail reform. That's one to watch. Simple description of this. This was a package of bills passed a while ago that basically revamps our cash bail system because of... and this makes sense if you think about it. The idea that cash bail actually keeps those with less money in jail when those who can afford to post bail or pay a bondsman or pay direct cash can just walk until their court date. Those without the money, even if this is like a warrant over unpaid traffic tickets, will sit in jail, lose their job, end up in a even worse financial situation than they maybe already are, just because they couldn't afford bail. When someone charged with the exact same thing walks, that's not a smart way to go about a justice system. So Utah lawmakers started to make some changes to that, offering some direction and discretion to judges to be able to legalizing judges being able to consider these types of things when whether or not they give a person the ability to leave jail until their court date in a sentencing process. Back in the spring, the Utah Sheriff's Association and some others showed up with a bunch of data saying this was putting violent criminals back on the streets. Lawmakers, in a knee-jerk reaction, voted to repeal the bill immediately, and then within the next 24 hours realized they'd been duped. The data the Sheriff's Association brought was fallacious, or at very least had a lot of holes in it, although the Senate president actually went so far as to call it fallacious in his speech in anger last spring. And so they're bringing this back, and they are determined to pass it. That is the final debate left. So if you want to watch that again, le.utah.gov around 6 o'clock. They'll be back at it with bail reform, the only item left on the agenda not signed off on. And that's it. It's official, folks. The vote has happened, and Dixie State name change is a go. That university will now be Dixie Tech University in southern Utah, waiting only the governor's signature. That's
UTU.
Right. The vote, it was interestingly not as close as I thought it would be. 17-12 on that. That happened just minutes ago, as we've been discussing. Follow along at le.utah.gov as they come back at 6 and finish an evening session of mainly focusing only on bail reform and any other tweaks they want to make to the redistricting map, if they find more mistakes in that map as they just did. And we'll keep you posted as well throughout the evening here, and stories at cachevalleydaily.com recapping everything that's happened so far during the legislative session. Later in the week, we'll actually speak with lawmakers who are there on the ground now, get a recap from them, and we'll stay tuned. More of For the People right after this.
Ray Charles inspired millions during his lifetime in music. Now, an all-star cast of award-winning musicians comes to the Ellen Eccles Theater in Logan to celebrate his expansive catalog. Internationally recognized acts like Clint Holmes, Take Six, Nina Freelon, and Tom Scott will take the stage with the USU Chamber Singers in a night of hits from the genius. Hit the road, Jack, on November 15th, and come to Georgia on My Mind, celebrating the music of Ray Charles at the Ellen Eccles Theater in Logan. Tickets available at casharts.org.
Ah, that's better. Trade in the stresses of building a new home for relaxation. Visionary Homes Priority is giving you a stress-free building experience. Named the best home builder in northern Utah, Visionary Homes team will guide you seamlessly through the home building process. Call today, 435-228-4702, or visit visionaryhomes.com to learn more about upcoming communities in Nibley, Logan, and Smithfield. Visionary Homes, built for living, built for you.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Coming up, this happened to me recently as well, as it probably happened to everyone, but if you've ever wondered why you go into a store, or if you have gone into a store, I'm sure we all have, and you're going in for an item, maybe it's like a $10 thing. That's the whole reason you went there. And then you leave later, and it's like that scene from Dumb and Dumber when Jim Carrey comes out of the convenience store with the foam cowboy hat and the pinwheel, an armful of snacks and potato chips, and he was supposed to go there to get one thing. We've all been there. You end up walking out, you spend $100. It's probably all stuff you need, but you didn't go in there for that. Some research at Utah State University digging into why this happens. More specifically, though, the research is aiming at trying to understand Americans and stuff. All of this is due to a report, reading from a Forbes magazine report on the report right now that was out earlier this week, that personal storage industry is in America a $24 billion a year industry. That's not even globally. That is the U.S., the U.K., Canada, and some countries north of the U.K., it looks like. They've got a little map here. So not even global. This is just, I would say, developed countries, wealthy countries. But either way, it's a $24 billion a year industry, $24 billion in revenue alone in the personal storage industry. And 75% of that is business done within the borders of the United States, Forbes reports from this study again. That's huge. So looking at that, I started digging around, and I found out that USU Life Sciences researchers had actually been digging into this in their own way. What is it about stuff? Why is it that when we go into a store, we almost always walk out with more than we intended to buy? What is it about something new coming out that just sort of nags at you until you get it? Many people out there probably experienced that with maybe the latest iPhone release or something like that. There actually is a lot of psychology involved here, but there's also ways that we've been trained by professional marketers. It's fascinating stuff, and it's also, I would say, for the most part, harmless stuff. Usually for me, when I go into a store and walk out with more than I went in there for, it's all stuff I need. Maybe one or two items that I didn't need and probably shouldn't have bothered with. I try to get rid of old things when I bring something new in. Sometimes I'm better at that than other times. But, yeah, it is. There's something to this. We'll talk about it as we come back from the news break. Before we get to that, though, this is a cool story out of Weber County this week, West Haven specifically. The story of a woman in West Haven who has quietly, but no longer quietly, been for years chronicling the Northern Utah contribution to World War II. And what she's uncovered is fascinating. She says that she started out, this was just a personal curiosity. She wanted to learn more about her now deceased father's involvement in World War II, and she said that this project became sort of a passion for her at a certain point. She was unable to put it aside, and she said part of that is because she realized as she was digging into all of this that the contribution from Northern Utah alone in World War II, it was, one, she says, more complex than just, serving in the military, but also many of these stories, as she took them to other veterans and other even hobby and professional historians, many of these stories had never been heard before. She was learning them from the community and then verifying information from military records and more. She is now, I didn't know this, but she is now on her second of what is planned to be 4 volumes of men and women who took part in the World War II effort in one way or another in northern Utah. She said she wants to save the history. She never intended to make any money off of this, but due to demand, has decided to publish her chronicles as books, actually. So they will be publicly available. She said for her what is most important is the names of these men and women being remembered in some sort of historical chronicle. But she also said that World War II, as time passes, is becoming something of a forgotten war, and she feels that what World War II was all about, she even mentions our current politics and the rise of certain darker strains of politics that have been more active over the last few years. She said that concerns her, that people are forgetting the lessons of the Holocaust and forgetting that you can have, this monster rise to power somewhere in the world and then commit unbelievable atrocities, and that literally happened and could happen again. She said that's all part of this for her. So she started publishing these first as, vignettes and op-eds in local newspapers even, back in 2014, and now she is nearing completion of what is going to be, at first, a 2-volume history of military service, local efforts as well, from women who took jobs. I'd forgotten about this, but there was a piano Wurlitzer. There was a Wurlitzer factory here.
Yeah.
They made pianos and organs.
Wasn't it at where B-Tech is?
Yeah, basically. And the building's now gone, but that was the rough location. And I didn't know this, but that was for a brief period of time revamped, commissioned, if you will, by the Pentagon for production of what was a classified, at the time, classified military item. We now know it was it had to do with a specific part of a plane, but there was something about some of the equipment that was used to manufacture these organs and pianos that it could be quickly retooled to manufacture this very necessary part for a certain type of plane. And for a period of time, that happened right here in Cache Valley. So that meant that men and women employed there, and Wurlitzer, by the way, had a reputation before this was even something that was a cultural push but they had a reputation of hiring women. And so there were a lot of women who worked there, and Dixon says in her research she found that many of them were a part of this effort and really felt and even wrote themselves in some personal diaries that they were very excited to be playing a part in helping the U.S. efforts in this war against Nazi Germany. So amazing stuff. These books are going to be self-published, and right now you can get the first volume. She's nearing completion of the second. She plans for, but she has set up a website, which is, she's calling it WeberCountyGreatestGeneration.com. That's the website. But she's careful to note, and so is the Standard Examiner in their story, that many of the stories she found span as far as Rich County, Cache County, Box Elder County, and even a few down into the southern parts of Weber County nearing Davis County. And she said this has been a labor of love for her. It started as a hobby, just looking into her dad's own service. He'd passed away, and she wanted to know more, and found out that there was a lot of, unknown or forgotten history in northern Utah of service, both military, direct service, or community service through various means here in northern Utah. She's been out documenting it for the past 7 years. So check it out. I've linked to the website, but again, it is WeberCountyGreatestGeneration.com. And she said, not in to make money. She's selling the books for the cost that it comes to her and her family for publishing them. So check it out. I've linked to it on our Facebook page, and we'll be back with more of KVN News for the People on the other side of these headlines with KVN News' Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 5:37. The news is brought to you by U&I Furniture. Cutting a Christmas tree in a national forest is a fun family tradition for many residents of Utah this time of year. Christmas tree cutting permits are now available and can be purchased online at recreation.gov and not at the Logan Ranger District. They are valid now, from now until the 25th of December. Adverse weather conditions or emergencies may restrict access, and roads may not be plowed. It is recommended that families check with the Logan Ranger District before going up Logan Canyon to get the latest road conditions. Forest Service officials said any tree species can be cut except limber pine. There is a handout available at the Logan Ranger Station, or contact them to help identify trees that can be cut. The president of Idaho's top business lobby group, in a letter to Idaho lawmakers, says the group will oppose any attempts by the legislature to impose restrictions on businesses requiring COVID-19 vaccines. Idaho Association of Commerce and Industry President Alex LeBeau, in the letter sent Tuesday, says such a law would put tyrannical practices on the free market. The legislature is scheduled to reconvene Monday, mainly to pass a law or laws to thwart President Biden's vaccine mandates, but potential laws aimed at preventing Idaho employers from requiring employees to get the coronavirus vaccine are also likely to be introduced. A new era of Utah State men's basketball was officially ushered in last night, but it didn't turn out the way the Aggies had hoped. Elijah Pepper scored 16 points and knocked down a dagger of a three-pointer, his only one of the game, with 14 seconds to go. as UC Davis stunned Utah State 72-69 at the D. Glenn Smith Spectrum, spoiling the head coaching debut of Ryan Odom. Senior forward Brandon Horvath led Utah State with 19 points. Fellow senior forward Justin Bean recorded a double-double with 16 points and 13 rebounds, but Utah State could not overcome 11 missed free throws and 16 turnovers that led to 14 points by UC Davis. Up next, Utah State hits the road for the first time this season when the Aggies travel to Annapolis, Maryland for the Veterans Classic. USU will square off against Richmond Friday afternoon at 4 Mountain Time on the CBS Sports Network. Al Lewis and former Utah State great Jalen Moore will have game day at 3 p.m. on Friday, then post-game game day with Al and John Russell after the game. Last night, the Aggie women's basketball team won their season and home opener earlier in the evening versus Westminster, 83-78. KBNU News Time is 5:40.
As you've noticed, the season has changed, and the holidays are coming, and so are your guests. You need beds for them to sleep in and a new couch to sit on. Well, with family and friends coming, UNI Furniture is the place to help you be ready. Find the popular-selling queen-size therapeutic mattress for only $3.99. Or here's an idea. Move the bed you're sleeping on to the guest room and upgrade your mattress. See all the chairs, too, at UNI's Chair Heaven. Accent chairs, lift chairs, and, of course, recliners. There's always a better buy at UNI Furniture in downtown Logan.
KBNU weather is brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. Before you put your sleeping bags away, give them a good wash in Mount Logan Laundry's 55 and 80-pound washers in Logan and Brigham. For tonight, partly cloudy this evening, then mostly cloudy. Slight chance of snow after midnight. Overnight low in the lower 30s. And then rain and snow likely in the morning tomorrow. Rain likely in the afternoon. Mostly cloudy. High temperature in the mid-40s. It was 47 today. It's 42 right now at KBNU. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
This is Dr. Red, chiropractic physician with Red River Health and Wellness. Are you suffering with fatigue, brain fog, headaches, intestinal issues, weight gain, and you haven't been able to find any answers?
I've constantly been fighting with my weight and thyroid issues for more than 25 years, and none of the doctors in 25 years have ever been able to explain to me what Hashimoto's is, what it means to me, and how to manage it.
Red River Health and Wellness can help you.
Today, my life is like the minute I get out of bed, I hit the ground running. I'm ready to go. I want to see what today is going to bring, what adventures I'm going to have without pain and with all the energy to do everything that I want to do.
Our goal is to teach you and educate you so you know how to manage your condition a lot more effectively and you know what to do and what not to do for the rest of your life. With our satisfaction guarantee, you have nothing to lose.
Call Red River at 855-55-RIVER to schedule an in-depth consultation absolutely free. All appointments can be done remotely by FaceTime, Skype, or phone.
Hi, it's Chris at Levin's. People ask us all year long, when is your big sale? It's easy to remember. It's the 11th day of the 11th month, 11/11 at Levin's. Come in for men's suits, only $111 and $125. Pattern ties, 5 for $25. Solid ties, 6 for $25. Socks, $3.50. Dress pants, $22. Maxi skirts, $11, and all women's clothing on sale. Every item in the store at least 25 to 50% off. This week only, downtown Logan, 69 North Main Street.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Still tracking the legislative special session. The Senate currently debating the Dixie State name change. This passed in the House. It will pass the Senate. It is getting some debate and discussion from lawmakers right now. There is a chance they rush this vote and wrap everything up by 6, making me completely wrong. They sometimes like to do this. My guess is still that they'll take a break here in a bit after some initial debate, go to dinner, come back, and and have a final vote on this. But there is one other item that I forgot to mention that was on the agenda, or I don't know if it was on the agenda, but it happened. It was part of yesterday's legislative action, day one of the special session. And there are probably a fair amount of people that were maybe tracking this. It came and went quickly, and part of the reason for that is after consultation with legislative attorneys, the sponsor in the Senate decided there really wasn't much the state was confident they could legally do regarding President Biden's executive order directing OSHA to write rules affecting companies with 100 employees or more. Basically the OSHA rule will be companies with 100 employees or more will be required to either ensure the vaccination of their employees or to offer a continuous weekly testing program for employees that refuse to get vaccinated. And that doesn't go into effect actually until January 4th. My feeling about this is that the desired goal is probably already being achieved before it actually even goes into effect, which is to get businesses to kind of do the rest of the work. The federal government and state governments have done, I think, everything they can to get people vaccinated, and so now it's trying to push businesses to get that final 30% that maybe just haven't found time or haven't. I mean, there is a percentage that are never going to do it. They're opposed. They've, quote, done their own research. How many times have you heard that? And then there are also legitimately or legitimate excuses not to, like medical. There are certain medical conditions in which getting vaccinated, they're very rare, and there's very few on the list. But there are, hundreds of thousands of people in the United States who suffer from them, and getting vaccinated in any way can be very harmful to them because of this other condition that affects their body. So those types of those folks are we're never going to get to 100%, is my point, and that's not the goal. So that's my sense of this, is that companies preparing for this rule to go into effect, the desired goal is probably going to be achieved before it actually goes into effect, or before any threats of lawsuits manifest into anything real. That said, Utah lawmakers wanted to address this in the special session, and a bill was discussed yesterday and today. It did end up passing, but it's for all intents and purposes, it's basically little more than a resolution, a statement. One of the issues, though, this is what made the debate interesting. One of the issues they ran into was something that Republican lawmakers usually champion in this state, which is the fact that we are an at-will state, a right-to-work state, which, this is gross oversimplification, but not inaccurate, I guess, which it means you can basically be fired for almost any reason. Your employer has to document the reason, and they have to give a reason. And it can't be a discriminatory reason. And there are, areas of redress where a person can say, either through a court or the unemployment office, they can force their employer to pay unemployment if they were fired for trivial reasons and things like that. So it's not a free-for-all. There are rules to it, but it is a right-to-work state. And that kind of ran afoul of what lawmakers wanted to do. The bill would have made it illegal for a company to fire an employee who didn't have a medical exemption or a religious exemption, yet refused to get vaccinated. They wanted to make that illegal in Utah. Legislative attorneys said, well, you're not going to be able to do that without repealing the right-to-work laws that Republicans have usually championed in this state, which is basically right-to-work laws are usually a way to keep unions out, or to at least keep the unions that are here pretty small and restricted to very specific trades. So because we do have unions here, but not like, say, Pennsylvania does. That's what right to work is all about, and it's a differing political philosophy. There are a lot of debates over what's healthier or not for a state's economy. That's not what this debate was about. But that was basically the presentation. The sponsor said, legislative attorneys said that barring an employer from firing an employee for refusing to get vaccinated without a medical reason or a religious reason would run afoul of the right to work laws. So a lawsuit would be very successful and happen very quickly, even if the person was not directly in this type of situation. They could sue the state for simply contradicting its own laws. So they instead passed a bill that basically said, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it said if a business has less, it was a resolution. It's actual statute, which is different than a resolution. But basically what it did is it's a bill that's now on the books, a statute that just reinforces a law that already existed in Utah. And it basically says that small businesses with employees fewer than 100 employees are not, they don't have to abide by this. They will not have to enforce a vaccine mandate. Well, that was already the way this was going to work. So it was a message bill for all intents and purposes after it butted up against the right to work laws. And that was one other thing that was on the agenda that I forgot to mention. So for those who are tracking that was the end result. The bill did pass in the House and the Senate. And interestingly enough, it got some votes from Democrats in the House because they said, well, what I just said. They said, look, this is just reinforcing existing state law. We're all for that. Although I would guess because of some of the slap-happy attitudes that were around this morning, as they probably didn't sleep much last night working on all this stuff in a 2-day special session, lawmakers, I would guess some of the Democrats were voting in support just to kind of be smart alecks on that. At least some of the comments on the House floor implied that. There was a lot of laughing, and they're friends with each other in the two caucuses, so kind of funny. But that was the end result of it. The bill was watered down, and in the end didn't really change anything in the state. But it does reiterate that in the state of Utah, employees with fewer than 100 employees are exempt from this federal mandate that will run through OSHA as workplace rules that are now out for public review, but will go into effect January 4th for any employee with more than 100 employees to have either a vaccine mandate on site or within the company if there is no physical site. And also, if an employee is not going to get vaccinated, the company has to set up a process for a weekly testing regimen to protect other employees from that employee. That rule goes into effect January 4th and was not designed in the executive order, would not affect companies with fewer than 100 employees anyway. And state lawmakers today just reiterated exactly that and put it into statute. So that was the other thing on the agenda. I believe that covers everything they did. I feel like I'm missing one thing here. But no, I think that's it. That's it. So we've covered everything they did so far. So back to, again, what I said at the start of the hour. Bail reform is the remaining issue here. They're getting up against 6 o'clock, which means they've been going for about 2 hours. Either in the next 7 minutes, there's going to be a rushed vote on the bail reform package, or they're going to take a break and come back and work into the evening. That's my prediction at this point, as they are still headed up towards 6 o'clock here. They are at this point still discussing the Dixie State name change in the Senate, which, never mind, just passed. Whew. What a rushed thing this is. So, yeah, Dixie State name change just passed the Senate. That is officially back. And believe it or not, lawmakers have just brought redistricting back up again in the Senate. So that redistricting map that passed early this morning, as I said several times throughout the show, is a done deal. This is now the second time just in the 2 hours of this show they've brought it back up for floor debate because of a problem they found in the map they passed this morning. What this is, it appears this is another school district boundary or school board boundary issue that they missed. So they're debating the redistricting map again. On the other side, we'll tell you what this is all about after we figure out what this is all about. For the People continues right after this.
NMLS 1817019.
LendRight Mortgage declares freedom from high rates and closing costs with the introduction of our Freedom Loan. What is a Freedom Loan? 1, you pay 0 closing costs. 2, you get a rate that's the same or lower than the rate other lenders charge you thousands in points and fees to get. The choice is clear. Pay thousands more than you should with another lender, or get the same or lower rate and have the Freedom Loan cover 100% of your closing costs. Act now. Freedom Loan APRs are as low as 1.92% for 8 to 15-year terms and 2.67% for 16 to 30-year terms. Call 801-APPROVE or visit lendrightmortgage.com. Get a Freedom Loan and say no to high rates and closing costs. Call 801-APPROVE or visit lendrightmortgage.com.
At Palmer's Metal Mart, you get more than great steel at great prices. You get an amazing customer experience. For almost 30 years, people have chosen Metal Mart for the level of service that comes with the Metal Mart experience. But again, don't take our word for it.
Metal Mart was so professional and informative about an unusual project we had. They kept notes, so no matter whom I came in to talk to, we were all on the same page. I appreciated the professional yet friendly environment I encountered.
Another great customer said,
"So I needed to pick up some tubing to repair a utility trailer, and I placed my order, but unfortunately I gave them the wrong specs. It was totally my fault. And instead of making me eat the cost, Metal Mart gave me the credit towards the right tubing. Great guys and great customer service."
Come experience the great service and selection at Palmer's Metal Mart, everyone's metal store, with locations in Lehigh and Logan. Metal Mart's team is ready to serve. So if you need metal, get to Palmer's Metal Mart. See you soon.
To the staff at Legacy House, just a quick note to say thank you for the difference you've made in Mom's life. Her attitude has improved so much since moving to Legacy House. Meal times and activities are her favorite, and she's made a lot of new friends. I don't know how I could take care of Mom, plus my own family, if it wasn't for you. Thanks again.
Legacy House of Logan provides 24-hour care to help your loved one with daily activities.
Taking care of you.
Stop by on 1400 North in Logan.
Hey, it's Al Lewis. We all know buttons make our lives easier. But if you have sleep apnea and can't use CPAP, did you know there's a button that can help you go from this to this? It's called Inspire. It's a small device that works inside your body with just the click of a remote. That's right, a button. If you struggle with CPAP, great sleep awaits at InspireSleep.com. Inspire. Sleep apnea innovation. No mask, no hose, just sleep. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you. And review important safety information at InspireSleep.com.
All right, just like that, bail reform has passed the Utah Senate. That means that is also a done deal. And it goes back, Senator John Johnson, the only no vote on that. I don't know why. I didn't see his floor comments. But otherwise, a unanimous vote in the Senate. And that heads to the governor for signature at this point. So bail reform is back on the books here in Utah. That bill, again, was repealed in the spring as a knee-jerk reaction to some fallacious testimony. And once lawmakers realized they'd been duped, they said, we're bringing this back. We will tweak some things. The bill basically gives judges some direction and discretion when it comes to whether a person can leave jail after an arrest before their court date. The reason for this is that with cash bail, again, those who don't have the money or can't afford to go through a bonds company, they sit in jail until their court date, and they lose jobs and they all kinds of things because of that. Whereas someone who has a lot of money arrested for the exact same thing can just post bail and leave. So it's an attempt to undo that inequity in our justice system here in Utah, and efforts like this are happening in many states. The claim during the spring session was that this was releasing violent criminals left and right onto the streets of Utah. The data at once lawmakers dug deeper did not support that claim at all, and they promised to bring it back. Well, it is official. 26-1, it just passed the Senate and heads to the governor for signature, which means other than this rediscussion, third time of the bill redistricting map that they passed this morning in a hurry, they could be done here in a few minutes. This debate with the redistricting bill, I'm still not sure what this is about. When they brought it back up about 45 minutes ago, it had to do with a error in a school district boundary, a school board boundary in Davis County, where they'd accidentally cut one in half and didn't intend to. This was the legislative committee really rushed their work on this one. So it is it's being tweaked again. and we'll see. In the House right now, there is a brief pause as they wait for the Senate to do its thing. And Representative Sandra Hollins in the House is currently asking lawmakers to pause for a moment and remember this tragic story you've probably heard in the last 24 hours. 10-year-old Izzy Teichner, I think is how I heard the name pronounced. 10-year-old girl with autism, or that Down syndrome, that took her life after being bullied at school in the Davis County School District. Davis County School District already under quite a bit of fire and criticism for some negative press repeatedly over the last few months. This doesn't help, but Senator Hollins asking everybody to recognize this tragedy and remember, as lawmakers, they need to do something to address this in any way they can.